Hey there, good morning, everybody. By the way, if you haven't checked outside, the sun's shining, there's birds chirping. It's a beautiful day out there. I don't know what else you would want in a day. So, it's even a little bit overcast, which I love. So, anyway, today we'll be going through Daniel chapter 6. So, again, if you haven't read it yet, go ahead and pause this video or read through it. I think you'll probably get way more out of reading it for yourself than actually just watching this video. Just an FYI. Song I listened to this morning was Fill My Cup by Andrew Ripp. Just such a great song. I really do like that song. One of the lines in there is, I've been looking for a river that can fill my soul. I think I've talked in a couple of my messages on like Bonfire Nights or whenever I've done a message that, in the movie Tombstone, they always talk about, this one guy has a great big hole right in the middle of him, and the only thing he can do to try and fill it up is he's killing and stealing all this great stuff. And that's what we all do. We all have a hole right in the middle of us, right? And the only thing, we all try to do all kinds of different weird stuff to try to fill it, but the only thing that can fill it is this river that comes from God, right? In the Old Testament, it comes from the temple. And then now in the New Testament, Jesus talks about that when he's talking with the woman at the well, that about living water, right? So I'm drinking from a well from another place is another thing it says in that song. So anyway, good song. But let's go ahead and hop into Daniel chapter 6. So before that, we're going to do a quick recap of just the kings. So the kings we've had so far in Daniel. So you got Nebuchadnezzar. Remember, he had like that weird dream. Daniel interpreted it. And then he also had the Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego had an encounter with the King Nebuchadnezzar with the fiery furnace, right? And then, so at the end of it, he's like, oh, praise the God of the Most High. You guys are awesome. Your God is awesome. He actually saves. Then King Nebuchadnezzar has the dream of the tree, doesn't change his ways, loses his mind, goes crazy for a while, but then comes back, and then again, says, hey, Daniel, your God of the Most High is the one true God. Then his son, King Belshazzar, was just a straight fool. He's the one who drank out of the gods' goblets stolen from the temple in Jerusalem, and basically defiled God in that way. And then now you've got King Darius, right? And King Darius is actually, from this chapter, just cool dude, right? He's straight up honest. He kind of shows Daniel favor because, Daniel's, we'll see here. He's a good dude. So anyway, Daniel chapter 6 starts out, Darius appointed 120 satraps, or I don't know if you'd call them like governors or mayors or whoever, just 120 guys to rule throughout the kingdom, and then he's got 3 guys in charge of those 120 guys, and Daniel is one of those 3 guys. So basically, kind of with that quick math, if it's all even, Daniel's in charge of a third of the kingdom, kingdom, the most powerful kingdom in the world at this point, which is pretty cool. So it says here, reading through, Daniel distinguished himself by his exceptional qualities, right? No one was able to find any grounds for charges against him. There was no corruption in him, basically. So like with that, like as a government official, you've got a lot of power to make things happen or make certain things happen, and believe it or not, it does still happen today. It's just the way of the world. But here's Daniel setting himself apart, again, with his exceptional qualities that, I can guarantee, he was offered bribes to do things, but there was no corruption in him. He was trustworthy. He was not corrupt. He was not negligent. So again, he's not like, if he's supposed to be working, he's not off on vacation, doing all this other stuff, or just, getting drunk and doing bad things. He was not corrupt. He was not negligent, right? So he's just a good dude. So these men, though, they don't like Daniel, right? Just because people are just weird. We as people are weird. Finally, these men said, we will never find any basis for charges against this man Daniel unless it has something to do with the law of his God, right? And that's just something that's just cool there, right? It's just to be, I pray that you and me and all of us, we have the character of Daniel where nobody can find any grounds for charges against us, right? They look at our life up and down, front, back, they say, man, like, this cat over here, he's good, or she's good. Wow, like I've looked up and down, and like have like a private investigator come into your life and kind of follow you around for a day, a week, or a month, and if they can find nothing that you do wrong, like how cool would that be? Like I just pray that we all have character like that, and that we all have private and public lives that show that, right? That we honor God with our lives. So that's just cool. So the only charge they could find against him is something to do with the law of his God. So these cats, these guys who are jealous of Daniel, they go to the king and say, "Hey, king, we got a great idea," right? Like thinking, making the king think that there's no ulterior motive at all, which there is, of course, because they want to get Daniel killed or thrown in jail or something because they don't like him. But hey, you should issue a decree that, hey, for 30 days, nobody can worship you and you alone. And the king's like, well, okay, that sounds like a pretty good deal. Okay, yeah, sure, let's do it. But then, of course, and I love here, verse 10, Daniel learns about the decree, doesn't change anything. And it kind of says here, 3 times a day he's been getting down on his knees to pray and thank God, just as he had done before. Right? So now when Daniel learned that the decree had been published, he went to his home in his upstairs room where the windows opened toward Jerusalem. 3 times a day he got down on his knees and prayed, giving thanks to God, just as he had done before. So just one that shows a couple things is one that Daniel's like, oh, you got an edict from the king? Well, okay, I'm still going to pray to my God. And he goes and he does it, and he makes sure he does it not in a secret, quiet place, or like, hey, lock the door, servants, make sure, that nobody can come in while I'm doing this, make a secret. Nope, doors opened toward Jerusalem, gets down and prayed. These guys apparently just kind of walk right into his house, and then they find Daniel praying and asking God for help. That's cool, right? And again, it shows that it's not like just today he's been praying, but it's every single day he's consistent. 3 times a day he prays to his God. That is great. So they all went to the king and they basically tell on Daniel, yeah, guess what? And then here's one thing that I love about King Darius, right? Is here are a couple things just throughout it. He says, and by the way, the guys who catch him, they say, Daniel, he pays no attention to you, Lord. They pay, oh my gosh, this guy Daniel, he's so bad. He doesn't even pay attention to the laws that you make. That Daniel, he's so bad. It's like, come on, bro. But here's just something just about King Darius that you see with his character, right? Because it could be like, one of the other kings, like, oh yeah, you're right, this guy Daniel doesn't pay attention to me. Let's throw him in the den right now. But King Darius he's greatly distressed, right? He's determined to rescue Daniel. He makes every effort to rescue Daniel. Because like they come in, they tell him, let's pretend it's like noon or so. They tell him, and then the king makes every effort to rescue Daniel. And then finally it's like sundown. They're like, hey, king, you made that law. And you yourself said that law can't be reversed. Are you going to throw him in the den or what? And he's just like, I guess I have to. All right. So he makes every effort to kind of repeal his law or whatever, but he can't. And then, at sundown, finally, then the king gave the order to rescue Daniel. And then here's just one cool, is just that the king says to Daniel as he's, going into the lion's den, Daniel, may your God, whom you serve continually, rescue you. He's like, hey, I know I'm throwing you into a no-win situation here. I'm hoping that your God can rescue you, whom you continually serve, right? He's just like, even though you got, a death sentence on you, you're going to continue to serve your God. Like, how cool is that? Again, I pray that for me and for all you guys as well. And it's just cool. So, and then during the night, no food, no entertainment. The king who normally would probably have a party overnight because he's the king. Hey, why not? But then, no food, no entertainment the whole night. And then at first light, he hurried to the den, right? And then here's what he asks. Is Daniel, servant of the living God, has your God, whom you serve continually, been able to rescue you from the lions? And again, and what's kind of cool about this in this whole chapter, this is the first words Daniel ever says, right? I mean, of course he talks, but just like his character speaks for himself, right? The way he lives his life just speaks for himself. He doesn't have to go make boasts, or he doesn't have to defend himself and all that stuff. This is the very first time he speaks in the chapter. And of course, he starts with the most famous, our favorite Babylonian catchphrase, "May the king live forever." May the king live forever. That's like what everybody, I think in every single chapter almost, it has that somewhere, somebody saying, hey, may the king live forever. My God sent his angel, and he shut the mouths of the lions. They have not hurt me, because I was found innocent in his sight, nor have I ever done any wrong before you, your majesty. The king was overjoyed and gave orders to lift Daniel out of the den, and when Daniel was lifted from the den, no wound was found on him, because, and here's the thing, is because he had trusted in his God. So many times in the New Testament when Jesus goes and heals people, what does he tell them? All right. Oh, thank you for healing. Thank you for healing me. And he tells them, your faith has made you well. Your faith has healed you. Here, it's Daniel's trust in God. That's what saved him. That's what made it so he had no wounds, no scratch. The lions didn't touch him because he had trusted in his God. This is like the sweetest. Just like wouldn't you wish like every situation ended like this in your life? At the king's command, the men who had falsely accused Daniel, right? If you've ever been falsely accused, it ain't fun. Were brought in and thrown into the lion's den. And this is a little bit sad, along with their wives and children. That's just, men, that's a good, and women, just anybody in any kind of a leadership, just be careful the choices you make don't affect just you, they affect the people around you as well, right? So just a good warning. So don't be a man like this who's falsely accusing Daniel, and then you get your wife and your kids killed too. The men who had falsely accused Daniel were brought in and thrown into the lion's den, along with their wives and children. And before they reached the floor of the den, the lions overpowered them and crushed all their bones. And that's also kind of something too. It's like you could say maybe they were just like really friendly lions. Were they really lions? But it's just like the 3 men in the fiery furnace, right? The men, the strong soldiers who threw them in, they were killed from the flames. But somehow Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego were not killed from the flames. Just like this, Daniel wasn't eaten by the lions. Well, maybe the lions were just full. Right? Maybe they were tame lions. Maybe not. No, because now these people were thrown in, and then immediately the lions overpowered them and crushed all their bones. Then King Darius wrote to all the nations and peoples of every language in all the earth, may you prosper greatly. Right? So it's all, may the king live forever. Hey, may you prosper greatly. That's a pretty cool edict to hear from the king. I issue a decree that in every part of my kingdom people must fear and reverence the God of Daniel, for he is the living God, and he endures forever. His kingdom will not be destroyed, his dominion will never end. True. He rescues and he saves. He performs signs and wonders in the heavens and on the earth. He has rescued Daniel from the power of the lions. So Daniel prospered during the reign of King Darius and the reign of Cyrus the Persians. So cool. So anyway, that is just a really, really cool song. One of my favorite, it's a cool thing for the king to say. Great chapter in the Bible. I love this thing. Actually, when I was a kid, I used to sing a song. My dad would make me sing it whenever company came over, called Daniel in the Lion's Den. So if you guys ask me with manners, I might sing it for you at youth. But of course, you got to watch this video to know that I know Daniel, don't you? Oh, all right. Love you guys. Have a good one.